Welcome to Mind Trip FM, your nightly historical haven. If our stories help you relax, fall asleep, or simply soothe your curious mind, please like, subscribe, or leave a comment telling us what kind of stories you'd like to hear. Now, let go of the day, close your eyes, and join us as we journey into a forgotten world. Imagine waking before dawn to the rancid stench of blood and sweat, knowing you will spend your day wading through the filth of Rome's grandest arena. You rise in a small room behind the western flank of the Colosseum. Your bed is nothing but a straw mattress on a wooden pallet. You dress in rough linen tunic and trousers stained from days of work. You lace your leather sandals and tie a cloth around your head to protect your hair from dust and grime. Outside, the city is still quiet, but you can hear the rumble of the arena walls as they settle in the cool morning air. You step into the corridor that leads to the subterranean service tunnels. The torchlight flickers against damp stone. Every breath fills your lungs with the smell of mold and ancient mortar. You carry with you a long wooden rake, a metal dustpan, and a woven basket on your back. You descend a flight of stone steps, your sandals thudding softly. At the bottom, you find the main drain channel, a shallow trench carved into the rock, lined with sloping slabs of stone. This channel collects water from the lavatories, cleaning stations, and the occasional rain that seeps through the public corridors above. You begin by sweeping aside the layer of straw that patrons tossed on the floor the previous day. That straw is meant to absorb moisture, but it also soaks up every drop of blood, vomit, and urine. You rake the straw into a pile and toss it into the basket. Bits of broken amphorae, fragments of pottery, and small bones from meals slip through your fingers. You work quickly. The emperor's show begins at first light, and the arena must be spotless. Once the straw is removed, you kneel beside the trench. You sweep the debris into your pan. Olive pits, scraps of meat, fragments of clothing. The sludge at the bottom is thick and foul. You scoop it into the basket, your hands trembling from the cold water. You pray there are no snakes or rats in the muck. Last week, a fellow worker lost a finger to a rat bite. As you finish clearing the primary channel, you move to the side tunnels. These narrow passageways connect to the gladiator holding cells. You step carefully, mindful of puddles on the flagstones. You sweep and scrape, clearing the floor of straw and mud. The smell grows stronger. Hear hot metal from torches, damp hides from animal cages nearby, and the faint coppery temps of stale blood. Your stomach churns as you recall the lion pit just beyond the next corridor. Yesterday morning, one of the keepers failed to latch the gate properly. A lion roamed free for a few frantic moments before being driven back under. You push aside the memory and continue. You have no choice but to face this work every dawn. By mid-morning, you have cleared the key tunnels. You climb back out into the open courtyard. The sun has risen, and beams of light catch the dust particles in the air. Workers and artisans bustle around stonecutters, carving new slabs, blacksmiths forging gates, seamstresses mending banners. None of them notice you, for your task is far less glorious. You refill your basket with fresh straw from a nearby supply and carry it back inside. You distribute the straw evenly across the corridors, ensuring that the first spectators will not slip on wet stones. You sweep the steps leading to the seating galleries, making sure the emperor's box will be pristinely prepared. Next comes the lavatories. These are communal latrines carved into the outer ring, benches of stone with holes spaced every few feet. Below runs a water channel that carries waste away. You kneel and use a long pole with a hooked end to clear clogs wads of straw, discarded cloth, and soap residue. You slide the debris into your pan and dump it into the main basket. Your body aches by now. Your back is sore, your arms trembling from the strain. But the crowd will arrive soon. You must finish before the gates open. You collect a few heavy lamps and light them, hanging them near dark corners so spectators will find their way. The crowd begins to gather outside the grand archway. Cheerful voices echo off the marble. You step aside to let the first lines of women and children pass. You watch their sandals and feet, knowing that in a few hours, the sand below will be slick with sweat and blood, yet you will be gone, hidden behind the walls. Your final task is the sand itself. The arena floor is covered in fresh sand just before each spectacle. You must rake the sand smooth, removing footprints or stray stones. You knock the dustpan against the basket, empty its contents into a waiting cart, and wheel it away. The smell of the muck recedes as the sand spreads across the ground like a blank canvas. You take a moment to rest on the edge of the podium. From here, you see the whole oval tiers of seats rising like a grand amphitheater. Soon, majestic music will fill the air. Soon, the crowd will cheer for gladiators, beasts, and condemned criminals. You press your hand against your chest, feeling your heart pound. You remind yourself that your work is vital, that without sanitation, disease and stench would end every spectacle in tragedy. As you rise, you hear the herald call to your places. The games will begin. You lift your basket, wipe your brow with a damp cloth, and disappear through a side gate into the shadows. The Colosseum is ready, and you step back into the tunnels to begin cleaning again after the bloodlust ends. After the final trumpet sounds, the crowd erupts in cheers. You wait hidden behind a service door until the throng disperses. Feet stomped through the sand, littering it with bits of straw, splinters, and dried blood. You grip your rake and step into the arena once more. The sun is high, and the heat bites at your neck. You begin by sweeping the sand into neat rows, exposing dark stains. You rake aside clumps of straw and wash the worst spots with buckets of water brought up from the cistern below. Water splashes over your feet, turning the sand into mud. You work without pause, knowing that every minute counts before the next spectacle. Fragments of armor, broken sword blades, and battered shields catch your eye. You set these aside on a wooden pallet for the armorers. A small bone, perhaps from a gladiator's meal, rolls into your basket. You toss it away without hesitation. This is your domain now. Filth made order, blood made clean. By mid-afternoon, the sun begins its descent, and the echo of maintenance hammers fades. You move to the seating galleries. Here, garbage piles high, broken pottery, half-eaten food scraps, and foul waste. You sweep each tier, loading your basket and passing it to an assistant stationed at the stairwell. He hauls the load into a waiting cart below. The arena's public latrines are next. A line of benches with carved holes overlooks a flowing channel. You and your co-workers lift each stone bench, scrub the underside, and clear the channel of debris. You swallow thick dust as you kneel, your hands immersed in waste. You pray the flow remains steady. It backs up. The stench will spread through the corridors. On your back, the woven basket grows heavy. You pause to rest on a low wall, flexing your aching shoulders. Across the way, you spot a child leaning over the rail, wide-eyed at your work. You offer a quick nod. He smiles before running off to join his family. You return the nod, then steel yourself and resume. Late afternoon brings a change of pace. The scaffold above the emperor's box is dismantled, and the marble surfaces are wiped down. You assist by sweeping away sawdust and bits of chisel. The marble gleams briefly in the golden light. You imagine the emperor's sandals sliding across that polished stone. A fleeting moment of pride warms you. Your labor makes even that small luxury possible. As dusk approaches, torches are lit again. You light your own lanterns in the corridors, replacing spent oil and trimming wicks. Your protein-weak body protests every movement, but you press on. Soon, workers will come to ballast the gates, pad the ladders, and prepare for nighttime security. You climb the stone steps leading to the Hypogeum entrances one last time. The underbelly of the arena lies silent now, its tunnels empty. You secure the trapdoors, lock the gates, and extinguish the final torch. The stone is cool beneath your fingers. Finally, you emerge into the evening air. A cool breeze carries the scent of the Tiber River. The city lights begin to sparkle beyond the arches. You take a deep breath, savoring the moment of stillness. You have cleaned Rome's grandest spectacle from top to bottom. You trudge back to your small room, body stiff and throat parched. There is no applause for your work, no laurel wreath waiting. You set down your tools, pour a small cup of water, and sit on the straw mattress. Your muscles tremble, but you feel a quiet satisfaction. Today, you made order from chaos. As you drift into an exhausted sleep, the Colosseum stands silent. Above you, its bloodied sands, temporarily clean, its corridors ready for another day of spectacle. And you, its unseen custodian, rest until dawn calls you back to the filth and glory once more. You awaken before dawn once more, muscles still stiff from yesterday's ordeal. A thin shaft of light slips through a crack in your wooden shutter. You rise and begin your daily ritual, rinsing your face with cold water, tying your tunic, and slinging your tools over your shoulder. Today, the games will feature wild beasts, and your duties extend beyond mere cleaning. You step into the service corridor and descend into the Hypogeum, the underground network beneath the arena floor. This morning, the animal keepers have left behind straw, dung, and spilled feed. You light a torch and move carefully along the low passage. The air is thick with ammonia and the earthy scent of fur. You rake the straw into bundles, sweep the stones clean, and carry debris up a sloping ramp to the surface. As you work, you recall yesterday's spectacle, a pair of leopards, their golden coats gleaming under the sun, pounced on condemned criminals. Their handlers were uninjured, but the ground below was slick with blood. You shake off the memory and focus on the task. There is no room for distraction when the emperor's entertainment depends on your vigilance. Once the animal pits are clear, you move to the trapdoor mechanisms. These heavy wooden panels hinge on iron brackets and must remain free of grit. You inspect each latch and hinge, wiping away mud and oiling metal with a rag soaked in olive oil. You test each door, watching it rise smoothly into the floor above. Any jam could spell disaster during the next beast hunt. Your co-workers arrive, carrying empty buckets to haul away the muck. You coordinate movements so no one stands in a dangerous spot when the magician's crew tests the trapdoors with heavy weights. Today, a trained bear will emerge to perform tricks an even greater hazard for both beast and man. You step back and give them room, then sweep the surrounding floor to remove any splintered wood. By mid-morning, entrances to the gladiator cells demand attention. You descend narrow staircases to find heavy wooden doors stained with rust and blood. You use a wire brush to scrape dried grime from hinges and door frames. Your hands blister, but you persist. The gladiators are counted at dawn. Their armor must come through cleanly when they enter the arena. You stand back as the cell doors open. A burly murmillo strides past in segmented armor, his gladius sheathed at his hip. He casts you a curt nod before climbing the ramp into daylight. You sweep behind him, clearing straw and water from his path. In this moment, you feel your work's importance. Without your clearing, a slip could cost a life. At noon, the clang of shields and shieldsmiths' hammers echoes above. You climb to the upper corridors, where noble spectators will promenade before the next event. Here, you sweep the marble floors, flicking away dust and stray pebbles. You glance at inscriptions on the walls, names of past consuls and victories carved in stone. You feel the weight of history as you clean the same steps walked by emperors. A messenger approaches with a scroll bound in crimson ribbon. You open it and read an order from the prefect. After today's afternoon show, you and your team must remove all straw and thoroughly rinse the arena floor with fresh water, a task that requires hours of labor. The next morning's Nomakia mock naval battle will depend on dry stone for temporary water channels. You acknowledge the order and return to work, adrenaline spurred by the looming deadline. Noon sun beats down as you sweep sand into piles. You toss buckets of water onto the stone, watching mud swirl and slip into drains. You stomp on the water with leather sandals to dislodge stubborn grit. Afternoon arrives and the trumpets sound again. You slip away just in time, ducking through a side door. You pause in the corridor and drink a cup of watered wine, your only sustenance today. The taste is harsh, but it settles your nerves. You catch your reflection in a polished helmet, gaunt cheeks, haunted eyes, determination etched on your brow. As the gladiators clash and the crowd roars, you retreat to a storage alcove. You sort spare lanterns and refill oilskins. You carve notches into the handles to record usage. One by one, you hang lanterns in dark corners, ensuring that when spectators leave at dusk, no one steps into an unlit passage. When the games end again, you step forward into the arena. The sand is littered with scraps of metal, tattered garments, and falling leaves from overhead torches. You lift the heavy basket and begin your final cleaning of the day. Your arms burn with effort, but you work quickly. Each shovel of debris removed is one step closer to readiness for the spectacle of water-flooded mock sea battles. By late evening, torches and lamps flicker off, leaving the arena in semi-darkness. You extinguish your own lanterns and lock the side gates. The last echo you hear is the distant footfall of a lone guard. You breathe deeply, feeling the cool air on your sweat-slick skin. You climb the steps back to your room. You pause at the door, placing a hand on the rough stone. In the fading glow, you envision the empty arena, sand cleansed, stone shining, trapdoors oiled and ready. You step inside, light a small lamp and lay your tools against the wall. Tonight, there will be no sleep until the oil lamp gutters out. You soak your feet in a basin of cool water and scrub your hands of the day's grime. You eat a small portion of bread and olives, washing them down with another cup of water. Your body trembles with exhaustion. As you lie on your straw mattress, you hear the far-off coo of a nightingale. You close your eyes, the scent of mold and sand still lingering in your nostrils. You know tomorrow you will rise again to clean, to maintain, and to keep Rome's grandest show alive. Before first light the next morning, you are back in the service tunnels. But today you begin at the eastern flank, where vendors and artisans set up makeshift stalls. You carry a smaller broom and dustpan for these crowded corridors. Crates of fresh fruit, fish, and game lie stacked against the walls. Leftover peels, bones, and scales must be removed before they rot. You sweep beneath crates and tables, gathering fruit rinds and fish guts into a wicker basket. The scent is sharper, here citrus, salt, and the faint tang of decay. You work quickly, mindful that the fishmongers will arrive soon, each seeking to present the freshest catch to the emperor's guests. You rinse the floor with water from a clay jug and spread fresh straw beneath the stalls to absorb any remaining moisture. Next, you move to the gladiator equipment lockers. You push open heavy wooden chests, each containing helmets, greaves, and shields. You dust the metal and wipe down leather straps with oiled cloth. A faint hiss escapes. One chest. Sand has shifted and released trapped air. You steady yourself and press on. A glove lies tangled with a sword belt. You separate them, snapping the belt back into its hook. As you finish, you hear distant footsteps and voices. A detachment of Praetorian guards marches down the corridor, their polished armor gleaming. You bow your head and step aside. They glance at the polished stone floor, nod approvingly at your work, and pass on. Midday sun filters through high windows into the administrative wing. Here, clerks tally receipts, scribes ink official notices, and heralds practice announcements. You sweep beneath their tables, collecting inks, pattered rags, and scraps of parchment. A scribe presses a fresh sheet into your hand. He needs a blank page. Each bag weighs a full amphora of sand. You heft them into position, tapping them until they seal the vents tightly. The atrium is quiet now, but later it will echo with trumpets and drums. By late afternoon, you descend to the service kitchen. Slaves and cooks prepare the emperor's feast, suckling pigs, spiced wine, honey cakes. Your task is to clear the back hall after preparation. You sweep up vegetable peelings, cracked eggshells, and spilled flour. A cook swats at a rat that scuttles across the floor. You raise your broom and chase it away. The kitchen supervisor claps you on the shoulder in gratitude. Finally, you return to the arena tunnels for your nightly duties. You must inspect the arena floor one last time, check for hidden debris, loose stones, or any obstacle that might injure participants. You light small torches and walk the entire perimeter, tapping the floor with your rake handle. Each ring is solid. You lop off any stray splinter and smooth the sand once more. At the undercroft entrance, you refill torches in wall sconces, ensuring each burns through the night. You place a final straw bale at the tunnel thresholds, so morning's sweep begins where tonight's ends. Your day concludes with the last of your tasks, unlocking the small wooden door to your quarters, setting down your tools, and drawing a blanket over your shoulders. You sit on the straw mattress and close your eyes, the faint echo of cheering crowds still in your ears. Sleep comes swiftly, but your rest is brief. You will rise again before dawn because, in Rome's heart, even the unseen labor of sanitation never truly ends. Dawn breaks cold and gray as you awaken again. Your bones ache, but you know the morning tide within the Colosseum waits for no one. You dress and gather your tools, rake, broom, oil, and torchlight, slip quietly into the corridor. Today is market day in the outer precincts. Caravans have arrived overnight with exotic good silks, spices, ivory. Merchants spread their wares on wooden tables beneath awnings. You must keep the aisles clear of tripping hazards, broken pottery, spilled sand, stray ropes. You begin at the northern arcade, sweeping worn stone, flagged underfoot. You push carts aside, stack loose crates, and knock the dust from rugs. Fragrant cinnamon and peppercorn aromas drift through the air, mingling with the distant cries of hawkers. You inhale sharply. This scent is a welcome change from yesterday's animal pits. Your task shifts to the latrines once more. You climb a narrow stair to the public tier where senators and magistrates retire between events. You find the marble slats wiped clean, but the channel below dangerously blocked by discarded towels. You kneel and clear obstructions, then pour fresh water through, watching it swirl and vanish. Next, you inspect the wooden seating supports. The lower benches have worn edges. Loose nails must be hammered back into place. You retrieve a small hammer from your pouch and tap each protruding nail until flush. Each strike echoes hollowly. Safety and comfort demand your precision. Mid-morning brings the first rehearsal of tomorrow's naval spectacle. You stand aside as laborers test the drained arena floor for watertight integrity. You rake the sand briefly to mark leaks and report concerns to the overseer. He nods and dispatches a team of carpenters to seal cracks. You return to sweeping, confident that your work has saved the show from potential disaster. By noon, the Colosseum staff flows like clockwork. Banner makers pin new pennants. Musicians practice trumpets near the imperial box. Torchlighter apprentices replenish oil supplies. You move among them, sweeping steps and mopping sporadic spills of wine used in morning libations. In the western gallery, you pause to replace a broken lantern with a fresh one. The old glass has cracked, its flame sputtering dangerously. Your hands steady the lantern as you trim its wick. You hang it back in place, ensuring its glow will guide departing spectators. Afternoon arrives with the clang of the great bronze water gate. Workers flood the arena in preparation for tomorrow's mock sea battle. You re-enter the Hypogeum and secure the wooden floodgates you oiled days before. You test each latch, then clear stray debris to guarantee a rapid, even flow. Outside the arena, cobblers and metal workers have set up mobile workshops. You sweep around anvils and stoves, ensuring no hot coals stray where crowds will later gather. Sparks from a smith's hammer fly, but you keep your distance and protect the floor as best you can. As the sun dips low, you return to the seating tiers. Today's events have scattered fruit, pits, and scraps of parchment. You sweep the galleries top to bottom, sending assistants to haul away each basket. By the time the last glimmer of daylight fades, the stones look newly carved. Your final task is to inspect the Emperor's private entrance. Carved marble steps lead down to a secluded passage. These must be immaculate. You scrub them with a brush dipped in soapy water, rinse and polish with cloth. Only when the steps gleam do you step back and nod in satisfaction. At last, you climb to your quarters. Your shoulders slump. Every muscle protests. You set down tools, pour a small cup of oil for tomorrow's lanterns, and refill your water skin. You lie down, muscles uncoiling by slow degrees, and close your eyes. Outside, the Colosseum stands in silent glorasand, cleared, stones polished, tunnels sealed. Tomorrow it will roar to life again. But tonight you rest, the unsung custodian of Rome's greatest stage, ready to rise and serve once more at first light. The next morning, mist clings to the arches as you awaken in your cramped quarters. Today, no games are scheduled. The Emperor has decreed a day of rest after yesterday's sea battle rehearsal. But for you, the work never truly ends. You rise and step outside, carrying only a broom and oil rag. You head first to the high terraces, where recent rains have left puddles in low spots. These terraces offer a bird's-eye view of the city and a perilous edge. You balance carefully, sweeping stagnant water into drains and mopping slick patches with olive oil-dampened cloths to prevent slips. From here, you climb a narrow spiral staircase to the prow of the Emperor's platform. You inspect the carved reliefs, brushing away accumulated dust so fresh paint will not flake. You refill the small oil lamps that line the roof edge, ensuring each one burns through the night. The wind tugs at your hair, but you hold your torch high, steadying yourself against the drop below. Next, you descend to the substructural chambers, where workers repair collapsed masonry. You sweep cobblestones bare, removing mortar scraps and chiseling bits of loose brick into soft piles. Masons thank you for the clear workspace siege stroke of your broom, helping them see cracks that need filling. Midday sun penetrates the ventilation shafts into the forgotten service corridors. You carry clay pots of fresh water to each brazier pit, where embers smolder all day to keep moisture at bay. You ladle water into shallow troughs around the brazier base, stirring embers gently with a poker. The faint glow warms the stone, reducing damp and mold. Your final task before lunch is to inspect the amphitheater's outer walls. You circle the oval, sweeping fallen leaves from each step and knocking loose pebbles from the wall crevices. At the south gate, you find a fan's scrap parchment tucked in a crack scribbled praises of yesterday's combat. You retrieve it, folding it carefully for the historian's office, then apply fresh mortar to seal the fissure. You break for a simple midday fare, a small flask of watered wine, a chunk of coarse bread, and olives. You eat in the shade of a column, staring out at empty seats. Your body aches, but your mind finds a moment's peace in the silent grandeur. In early afternoon, you are summoned by the prefect's steward to assist with an inspection of the Colosseum's waterworks. You follow him through a hidden door to the giant cisterns beneath the arena. Here, you inspect sluice gates, sweeping away layers of silt and clearing pipe inlets. You test valves by pouring water through channels and watching for leaks. The steward nods in approval. Your efforts have kept the system functional for months. Afterward, you return to the galleries for a final round of dusting and sweeping. You polish the railings outside the imperial box, buffing fingerprints off its marble surface. You empty remaining ash from metal lantern holders and replace them with fresh oil. As the sun slips lower, long shadows stretch across the empty sands of the arena. At twilight, you exit the Colosseum by the same narrow corridor used by performers. The massive doors close behind you with a thud. You pause under the arch, looking back at the silent amphitheater. In your mind's eye, you hear crowds cheering, lions roaring, and the clash of steel. You turn and begin the slow walk back through the ancient stones of Rome, toward home, toward along the Via Sacra. Merchants' lodges and bakeries glow warmly. You pass a baker's oven, inhaling the scent of fresh cakes and pastries. You conjure a small smile tonight. You might treat yourself. Reaching your room behind the western flank, you set down your tools. You remove your sandals and soak your feet in cool water. You hang your broom and a trimmed torch on a peg by the door. You lay out a simple supper, a slice of cheese, leftover bread, and a small cup of porridge. As darkness deepens, you light a single oil lamp. You lean against the wall, closing your eyes. The Colosseum's filth, your sweat, the blood and sand, it all feels distant here in your tiny haven. You whisper a quiet thank you to the stones you have cleaned and to the crowds who never know your name. Lying on your straw mattress, you peek through the shutter at the moonlit arches. They stand proud against the night sky. You think of tomorrow's tasks and raking, drain clearing, torch fueling, and know you will rise again at that first warning hush before dawn. You close your eyes fully now, sleep's heavy embrace finally winning. The Colosseum rests, and so do you, its invisible caretaker. And when the next dawn breaks, you will be there again, ready to sweep, to scrub, and to tame the chaos beneath Rome's greatest spectacle. A hush greets you the next morning as you step into the Colosseum's northern corridor. Today, dignitaries from foreign provinces will tour the facility before the games resume. Your tasks now include ensuring every passage appears immaculate, an important first impression for Rome's honored guests. You begin at the triage station for injured animals. Yesterday's bear performance left claws gouged into wooden pens. You sweep away straw and blood, mop floorboards with vinegar water, and replace soiled bedding with fresh reeds. A handler drops in a bundle of clean hides. You spread them neatly and inspect the pen bars for rust. Satisfied, you nod and step back as the bears shift at dawn light. Next, you move to the subterranean storerooms where stage props lie in wait. Wooden ship sections, trapdoor curtains, and false rock walls. You dust every surface, stack crates into perfect rows, and label each prop in chalk. A stagehand arrives to fetch a trapdoor panel. You hand it over carefully, wiping each edge clean so no grainy residue interferes with the hinges above. Mid-morning, you are summoned to the amphitheater floor. A group of senators stands on the sand, examining the layout for tomorrow's procession. You rake the area smooth, erasing footprints before they can slip toward the emperor's party. A senator nods approvingly, steps down into the tunnel, and offers a curt, "Well done." You bow and continue your work. By noon, a special delivery arrives. Fresh marble fragments to replace cracked stones in the guest staircases. You assist masons by carrying chips away and sweeping dust from newly laid slabs. Each tile is set carefully. You brush the seams clean before pointing them with mortar. The white marble glistens under your brush, a testament to your unseen precision. After lunch, a handful of boiled lentils and grapes. You head to the imperial box. You polish its bronze railing and buff the marble sill until it reflects the sky. A scribe charged with drafting tomorrow's guest invitations inspects your work and smiles. He spots a single smudge and hands you a damp cloth. You erase it instantly, restoring perfection. Early afternoon brings the arrival of a special prisoner, an exotic beast captured in North Africa. The handlers bring forth a large crocodile, its scales glinting in the sun. You clear stray pebbles from the pit entrance and oil the winch mechanism used to lower its platform. You test the pulley by raising and lowering an empty crate. Its movement is smooth, free of squeaks or jams. The handlers nod and wheel the beast platform into place. Your next chore is the side corridors that house the heralds and trumpeters. You shake out their canvas banners and sweep the scent of damp flags from the stone. Trumpets rest on hooks along the wall. You polish brass bells and remove rust from mouthpieces. You test each instrument with a brief call. The clear note echoes beautifully. The heralds applaud softly, thumbs raised in your direction. Late afternoon arrives, and you return to the Hypogeum to inspect emergency exits. You light torches to illuminate graffiti-lined walls and sweep away sand that might conceal trip hazards. You test each barred gate, sliding it open and closed, then relock it. You sprinkle fresh oil on squeaky hinges. The doors move in silent grace. As dusk falls, torches flare to life in every corridor. You make a final sweeping circuit of the main concourse, raking stray sand back into the arena and brushing steps one last time. You pause by the Emperor's box, now empty and gleaming, and whisper a private offering of pride for a job well done. You exit through the eastern gate and lock it behind you. The air is cool, cicadas hum in the nearby fields. You walk under the arches into the awakening city, lantern in hand. Tonight you will rest deeply, for tomorrow the games resume. Blood and spectacle return, and you will once again tame the chaos beneath Rome's grandest stage. Just as dawn breaks, a distant rumble echoes through the corridors. You grab your torch and hurry toward the eastern passage. A section of seating has collapsed overnight under waterlogging from yesterday's rain. Stones shift underfoot, and a cloud of dust rises as you approach the damaged tier. You drop your broom and pull back a loose slab to clear the debris. Behind it lies a crack widening along the support arch. You muster all your strength to lever aside fallen stones, calling for the stonemason team. They arrive quickly, chisels in hand, and begin repairing the arch while you sweep rubble into piles. As they work, you guide spectators away from the unstable area. You rake the sand to form a barrier line, then hang a warning banner overhead. Danger, keep clear, it reads in bold black letters. A centurion nods in approval, repositioning guards to enforce the cordon. Once the masons secure the arch with fresh mortar and iron clamps, you dampen the new stone to cure the mortar. You sweep the surrounding sand smooth, ensuring no sharp edges remain. The repaired tier stands firm. You step back, brush dust from your tunic, and note the time there is hardly room for rest. By mid-morning, news of the collapse has spread. An elderly spectator, startled by the noise, suffered a fall and twisted his ankle. A medic arrives, supported by 2 attendants. You clear a path, sweeping straw and stones aside to create a clean corridor for them to carry the man away. As they pass, you offer a quick nod of sympathy. After the emergency is handled, you return to routine. You climb 2 upper corridors to inspect banner lines above the Emperor's box. Yesterday's storm has loosened several cords. You retie knots and replace frayed ropes. A gust nearly catches you off guard. You grip the marble balustrade and secure each banner carefully. Before lunch, you descend again to the animal pens. The hyenas from North Africa have left droppings at the gate. You rake it all into a pile, then scrub the stone floor with brine. You replace the bedding straw and hose down the wooden fences. The handlers thank you with curt waves, and you move on. That afternoon, the heralds request new chalk for wall inscriptions, advertising tomorrow's Venesiotha beast hunt. You fetch dust from the workshop, mix it with oil to create smooth sticks, and deliver them. Then you sweep the floor of stray chalk dust, preventing slips. Late in the day, you are assigned to the arena floor once more to clear fresh animal blood. A boar hunt ended hours ago, leaving deep stains. You pour water onto the sand and rake vigorously, mixing sand and blood into slurry. You scoop it into your pan and cart it away. As dusk falls, you finish the final tasks, oiling hinges on the secret side gates and hanging lanterns along the external periphery. You light each torch carefully, checking for drafts that might extinguish flames. Finally, you pause atop the highest terrace as torches glow around the amphitheater. You watch flickering lights trace the oval shape of the Colosseum. Your heart swells today. You faced crisis and routine, man and beast, collapse and repair. You have met every challenge. You descend the steps to your quarters, remove your sandals, and lean against the door. You whisper into the silence, all in a day's work beneath Rome's greatest stage. You collapse onto your straw mattress, though sleep will come only after your mind dims. Outside, the Colosseum stands watch over the city. Inside, you rest its unseen custodian, ready for the next dawn's demand. The dawn of festival day arrives with trumpets and a flurry of activity. You awaken to distant music and the smell of incense drifting through your window. Today marks the Ludi Romani Games held in honor of Jupiter, drawing the largest crowds of the year. Your schedule is relentless, cleaning, maintaining, and preparing every inch of the Colosseum for back-to-back spectacles. You dress quickly, tying fresh cloth around your head to catch sweat. You sling your tulsa, heavy broom, dustpan, water bucket, and oil rag over your shoulder. You step into the corridor and find it already thronged with workers, scaffolders, erect platforms, musicians, tune instruments, and priests in flowing togas carry sacrificial offerings to the altar. Your first task is to clear the imperial approach. This broad passage leads directly to the Emperor's box, where senators and magistrates will file in. You sweep away wood shavings left by carpenters, mop up spilled wine from morning libations, and oil the ramp's handrails. A senator in full regalia passes, glancing at the gleaming marble and nodding approval. You bow your head in acknowledgement and continue. Mid-morning heralds the first pageant, a procession of priests, vestal virgins, and civic officials. You stand aside as they file past, their white robes pristine against the audience's colorful garb. The sands of the arena bear the imprints of their sandals. You wait until they enter the interior and then rake the entire circle smooth, removing every footprint before the next performance. Immediately after the procession, wild animals are released. You retreat to the gallery above the animal pens and watch briefly. Tigers slink through the gate, elephants trumpet, and a triumphant lion parades past. You count the seconds, 5 minutes of spectacle, then the carnage. You descend once the beasts are returned and begin your grim sweep. Straw, blood, and dung must vanish before the amphitheater can host gladiator combat. You work quickly, your eyes stinging. You scoop the worst into your pan, rinse with water, and spread fresh straw in a wide circle. You refill a basin of water and scrub the arena floor with a stiff brush, then rake the sand back into perfect evenness. The crowd roars once more, signaling the next segment has begun. Chariot races in the nearby Circus Maximus, but here the focus shifts to mortal combat. By lunch, you are dripping sweat, yet the midday sun spares no mercy. You take a quick moment in a shaded niche, sipping watered wine and eating olives. You consult today's schedule for more events, including a mock naval battle and a final executions round at dusk. The work never stops. Afternoon brings chariot demonstrations. Wooden platforms are wheeled in to simulate turning points. You oil the wheels and sweep the horse tracks clear. You stand by the outer rail and brush away stray sand as horses thunder past on their practice laps. A stray pebble could shatter a wheel. Your vigilance is essential. Late afternoon, the Nomachia begins. You and your team open the floodgates, letting water gush onto the arena floor. You rake channels to guide the flow evenly, then stand by to latch the gates tightly when the mock ships have maneuvered. You wipe spray off the nearby steps and mop up puddles that threaten to soak the audience tears. As dusk settles, the final spectacle damnation of criminals approaches. You refill torches, ensure every passage is lit, and sweep away all traces of the day's earlier carnage from the execution platform. When the condemned are led out, the stones are clean beneath their feet. The day's last roar of approval fades, and you race against the night. You rake the arena one final time, clear galleries of debris, and mop heavily soiled patches. You refill oil lamps along the access ramps and test each one. Every corridor must be ready for the dawn cleaning that never ends. Finally, you stand alone as the moon rises over the Colosseum. The arches glow ghostly white. You drop your tools and breathe deep, every muscle trembling. Festival day is over, yet tomorrow new events await. You step through the service door and lock it behind you, knowing that in Rome's greatest theater, the work of sanitation is eternal. You awaken before dawn once again, muscles still sore from yesterday's festival ordeal. Today marks the last day of the Ludi Romani, and the Colosseum will host its grand finale, a celebratory parade followed by composite spectacles. Every corner must be perfect, for Rome's pride is on display. You dress swiftly, lacing sandals and tying cloth to keep sweat at bay. You grab your tools, a broom strapped to your back, a dustpan at your hip, oil rag in hand, and slip into the corridor. Torches still burn from last night, guttering in the cool pre-dawn air. Your first assignment is the spectator seating. You climb the steep stairs to the highest tier. Here, wind and rain have left the stones slick with moisture. You sweep away leaves and grit, then pour olive oil water sparingly to prevent slippery patches. You run your hand over the seat edges, smoothing rough spots so that no one's toga tears. Next, you descend to the western Vomitoria, the exit passages. You sweep each vaulted passage clean, removing loose straw and sand. You inspect the bronze grills for damage, oiling hinges so they open quietly when the crowds flood out. You test each door, ensuring a swift egress that will impress dignitaries. Mid-morning brings the preparatory parade. Soldiers march in formation, bearing standards, while charioteers wheel decorated vehicles down the arena floor. You rake the sand behind them to erase their tracks, creating a fresh canvas for the procession. When the last chariot passes, you step forward and smooth the entire oval, tiptoeing around dropped laurels. By noon, the veterans of yesterday's sea battle rehearse sea creatures and platforms. You check the wooden barriers to prevent splintering, sweep stray timbers, and oil the winch that controls the water gates. A misstep here could flood the galleries. You test the mechanism yourself, turning the capstan and listening for any grinding metal. As afternoon shadows grow long, you prepare the execution platform for the final condemnation's rituals that mark the game's solemn close. You scrub the platform's steps, rinse away old stains, and line the edge with fresh straw to catch the condemned's last blood. You hang a black banner over the entry tunnel, a somber sign that today's end carries weight. Late afternoon, the grand finale procession enters. You retreat to your station behind a service door, torch in hand. The sun's rays strike golden shields and crimson banners. Trumpets sound triumphantly. You feel each note in your chest as you hold your position, ready to emerge for the final cleanup. When the last carriage and footman exit, you spring into action. You sweep straw, broken arrows, and discarded wreaths into your pan. You gather them into the basket, then rake the sand smooth. You refill water buckets and hurl salted water onto the platform. You scrub the stones until every trace of blood or mud is gone. Night falls, and you light torches for the entire concourse one final time. The Colosseum is silent, save for your swift footsteps. You lock the gates and extinguish torches in the side tunnels, ensuring no stray fire remains. As you return to your quarters, you take a last look at the amphitheater's majestic arches under the moonlight. You whisper, "Farewell until next season." You set down your tools and sit on the straw mattress, limbs heavy but spirit content. You close your eyes, knowing that your work has upheld Rome's grandeur. Sleep comes at last, as fleeting as the games themselves, but you rest assured that you, the silent custodian, have once again tamed chaos beneath the eternal city's greatest stage.